Hi, everybody. Welcome to math. So we're starting our unit on geometry now. And for this, we're going to review something that we've done before, which is how to find the area of a rectangle. Now, this should be pretty easy for you, right? So to do this, you simply multiply the length, which is the longer side, times the width, which is the shorter side. And just so you know, we call this length, Length, and this we call this width, Width. But sometimes, and you'll see with the new thing that we're going to do, you can also call it, this is also called the base, meaning the bottom, and the height, Height. So these are the same thing. Length is the same as the base, and height is the same as width, same thing. So we now know that if you multiply the length times the width or the base times the height, you get 60 square inches, right? 60 square inches. 6 times 10 is 60 square inches. But another way that you can write it, that you'll see, is I can write 60 inches, IN, with a little 2 on top, inches squared. So it's the same thing, right? 60 square inches or 60 inches squared. It's the same thing. Cool. Now that we know how to do this, you just multiply the length times the width or the base times the height. Let's go look at the next slide real fast. Okay, so if we come to this slide, here we have a parallelogram. So this shape is called a parallelogram. A parallelogram means that all sides are parallel, meaning this side is parallel to this side, and this side is parallel to that side. So they're parallel even though there are no right angles. So it's not a rectangle. It looks like a rectangle that's kind of leaning over in the breeze, right? Which would be actually correct. So to do this, so now look at this. So here we have the parallelogram, but what if I take a piece of this parallelogram, which, oops, I didn't mean to do that. I take a piece of the parallelogram, like, let's take this. Oh, look, I'll take this little piece there, see? I'm gonna take it, I'm gonna move it over here. And now, oh my gosh, it looks just like a rectangle again. So I take this piece and I move it over here, and it's back to being a parallelogram. Notice the size, the amount of purple in the shape did not change. I'm just rearranging where it is, which means that this parallelogram has the same area as the rectangle. So now it's a rectangle, now it's a parallelogram. So the way you find the area of a parallelogram is almost the same. I'm going to do the bottom number, which is 10, times the height, which is 6. The only difference is the height is always going to be this straight up and down measurement, right? We do not measure this diagonal edge. We only measure straight up and down. So height is always straight up and down times the base. So it's still going to be 6 times 10, which is 60 square inches. So it's still 60 square inches. It is the same area as this one and this one. They're exactly the same because they have the same base and the same height. Got it? So the way you find the area of a parallelogram is just like a rectangle, except you're doing base times height. And the important thing to remember is for height is you only measure the straight up and down. You don't measure that along the diagonal, because this this diagonal piece is actually longer than this dashed line. So that's why you only measure the height, which is straight up and down. Got it? Cool. So now let's try, there's one other thing that we're going to have. I'm going to turn this on. Present. Okay, so now we know that, but sometimes you're going to get a rectangle that looks like this. And what they want you to do is find what is the width. So what is this up and down one, right? Because they're going to tell us something. Look at this. They're going to tell us the area. So we know the area is 40, and we know one of the dimensions is 10. So you could say that, and we know that 10 times this, base times height, or length times width, is going to equal 40. So I could say 10 times x in this case is going to equal 40? Well, that should be pretty easy, right? 10 times what is 40? Well, it's going to be 4, right? X equals 4. So if I replace this X with a 4, is it true that 4 times 10 is 40? Yes, it is. So when they give you the area, you start off with the area and one of the sides, then you're basically going to divide 40 divided by 10, and then we find out what that is, which is 4. It works exactly the same if it is a parallelogram. So let's try the next slide. Okay, so this one, we have to figure out what is the base. So here they're giving us 90 square inches, right? And that we know the height. So we know the area. Oops, sorry. We know that the area is 90. The area is 90 and the height is 9. So what's the base? So you guys see if you can figure it out. Great. So you're just doing 90 divided by 9 equals 10. So here the base is going to be 10 inches because 10 times 9 equals 90. Got it? You could also do it the equation way where you say, okay, I know it's 9 times this is going to equal this. So I could say 9x equals 90. And I know that 9 times 10 equals 90. So x equals 10. Easy, cool, great. So we're on page 664 in the book, page 664. You can do it along with the book, but then I'm also going to ask you to put in your answers here on the computer. So first, we're going to find the area of these parallelograms. Notice that they have this dashed line. That means it's showing you this straight up and down. That's the height. So in this case, we can just count the units. Notice here that doesn't say like inches or feet or anything, so we're just going to count the units. So the base, you're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, count that way. And for the height, remember, we're counting straight up and down. So that's 1, 2. So find the area for shape number 1. Ready, go. Great. Okay, so what you should have is you counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the base is 6 units and the height is 1, 2. The height is 2 units, right? So now we just do 2 times 6 is 12. So the area is 12 units squared, or written out as square units. Okay, number 2 works the same way. Ready, go. Great, so it's pretty easy. It's just going to be 5 times 10, which is 50, and it's feet, but you don't just write feet. You have to write either the word square feet, or you can put feet with a little 2 on top, which means squared. All right, and now let's try number 3 the same way, and I'll give you a hint on number 3. They're trying to fool you. They're giving you 3 numbers there, but one of those you don't need. Ready, go. All right, so you should have figured out that the base is 11, right? And the height is 7. 11 times 7 equals 77. This one, 8 meters, you don't use it because we do not worry about the diagonal line, only the straight up and down line. This is the height. 7 is the height, 11 is the base. 11 times 7 is 77, but notice it's M, which stands for meters. So you write meters squared. It's really important that you write it as either square meters. You can also write SQ for square meters. That works too. All right, let's try number 4. Find the height of a parallelogram if its base is 35 and its area is 700. When you have a problem like this, it's really helpful if you draw a picture. It's really helpful for me. So I'm going to just draw a parallelogram here. Ooh. Here's my parallelogram. It said the base is 35 and the full area is 700, and they're all centimeters. So to figure this out, we're going to have to do this divided by this, right? Because the thing that we want to find out is what is the height, right? That is the number we are trying to figure out. So see if you can figure out, divide, ready, go. All right, so you should have done 700 divided by 35 equals, so really it's 700 divided by 35, And and if you use a calculator, I'll never know. So, but it equals 20. So this equals 20. Now look, this is 20 centimeters, not square centimeters. So this is 700 is centimeters squared, but because we're just doing the line, not the area, it's just 20 centimeters. All right, cool, guys. Last one. It says the size of the parallelogram piece in a set of tangram is shown at the right. Find the area of the piece. So this one is just like number 3. One of these numbers you don't need. See, remember, see if you can figure it out. Number 5, ready, go. What's the area? All right, so you should have done the base, which in this case is 2.6. So I'm going to just write it over here, 2.6. And the height is 5.1, 5.1. And we're going to multiply that. This 6 centimeters, forget it. We don't need it because we do not measure the diagonal, only the base and the height. All right, so here, let's just do this long way. 1 times 6 is 6. 1 times 2 is 2. And then I have a 0 here. 5 times 6 is 30. 5 times 2 is 10. Plus 3 is 13. And then I add it up. I have a 6. I have a 2. And I have a 1, 3. And there's 1, 2 decimal places. So 1, 2 decimal places. So my answer should be 13.26. I'll write here 13.26 centimeters squared, or square centimeters. All right, if you figured all this stuff out, then you are officially cool and you know how to do this.